And welcome to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, revolution.radio. This is Planet Collingwood Open Roundtable. My name is Monty Dean. A big thank you to Why Not and the Y-Files and the gang. I caught the last quarter of it. I nearly went Australian rules on you there. Saw the last quarter, was great. Went up straight at the middle and got the goals, no points. But there were points. See, the analogy doesn't work. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please go to said website, freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio, and donate what you can so we can continue sharing this wonderful station with 2 studios, 100% listener supported and 100% volunteer. I get paid with love, of course, and it's very hard to do radio as a comedian because I can't hear you laugh yet. Mind you, I may buy a Samsung and tap into all your lounge rooms. Anyway, I've got a full house, so I don't know what I've won, but I've already got 4 lovely guests chomping at the bit. And if you'd like to join us, it is Freedom Screen on Skype, or you can send me a message at Monty_Dean, and I will add you to the call, and we'll have a lovely chinwag. And I'll introduce our guests, and because I've only got because I've got like a little segment now of headlines. I've only got 3. I actually got 4, and the 4th one's kind of huge from my perspective. So I would like to say, let's first cap up the rank. Someone that I can't remember the last time she was on Revolution Radio. Mind you, this year feels like a decade anyway. But Helena Phoenix has joined us. Helena, how are you?
Oh my gosh, where am I? Hi, Monty. That was quite an intro. You're a total professional. How are you?
I'm good. I can get to the end of the paragraph and then breathe. It's quite good.
Like, where does he get a full stop in there, or a period, like the Americans say? Yeah, well done. Who else is on the hot seat?
Helena. This is HiJacker. I'm your long lost love. I love you.
Oh,
my God, couple
you're
years.
My twin flame. We were supposed to meet in another life, HiJacker. Well, I'm back.
That's right.
Here.
Yeah, when I heard you're having all those babies and you had a husband, you just broke my heart.
That's okay. The husband's gone, and I've only got 1 baby, so it's all good.
And she's awesome. I keep hearing stories from Helena. It's like you're raising a goddess, aren't you? John Z, say hello to Helena.
Oh wow, long time no see.
Yeah, hi John Z. It looks like there's a few other everyone I know here. Wow. You guys have just been sitting waiting for me to come back.
Yeah, basically. No one turns up to my shows. Oh, Helena's on. Thump. Oh, full house. We've also now. I think I'm not sure if you've met the mechanic, because he's new from my time. It could be a Mandela effect and timelines. But mechanic, are you there, sir?
I am here, and pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, mechanic. Helena's the patriarch of the radio station. So I can't wait to hear her story. That's really what I want to hear, Monty. Just Helena to take a couple of minutes to bring us up to date, because she just disappeared 3 years ago. And so, yeah, that's what I want to hear about. But anyways, your show, Monty. Go ahead.
I'd love to share it, Monty. I'd love to share it.
Well, yeah, I'll show off my professional side, and I'll guide it to where your story will kick in. I know, yeah, and also Mr. Z, or they say in Canada Z. I keep reading chats from you, and quite frankly, you should wash your mouth out with soap and water, young man. And I'm not a kangaroo, more of a wombat. We've also been joined by the Viking.
Hello, Helena.
Wow,
guys.
the Viking
Monty.
as well.
How's everybody going?
Good.
I'll take a back seat here for the goddess
How you doing,
story.
Viking? How you doing?
Good, mechanic.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, Helena is like a beautiful woman, like one of these guys that make you lust for. Helena's beautiful, so just let you know her appearance. Go ahead.
Well,
she's
there you
also
go.
of the Wood Elven clan.
Oh, I like that. Well, you do live in rural Victoria now, so I'll take that on board, and we'll get to that. So, very short segment of the Planet Collingwood headlines. because with the eclipse and full moon, and I'm sure we'll get to it a bit later, Viking, with the Schumann resonance spiking at 99 or something ridiculous like that. It's been an interesting week, and I've slept a lot, and I'm addicted, so addicted to sleeping.
You do, huh?
Oh yeah. I keep having snap naps, and he's like, I'm just going to close my eyelids, and you wake up, and it's like, 4 hours have gone past. Fair enough. But let's see, Black Lives Matter protests, according to some news reports, have slowed down the coronavirus. Yeah, good luck with that in Denver and some other cities. An elk statue was burnt down because racism. I'm not sure how an elk is racist, but there you go. And there's an idea from the NFL they're going to have a black national anthem, which screams to me segregation.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Not the national anthem for the country you live in. It's more of you'll need an Asian anthem, an Eskimo anthem, a Native American, First Nations anthem, and there's more than one. So I think the first 2 hours are just going to be national anthems. The way we're going.
That's pretty funny, Monty. That's very funny.
Thank you. I try my best. And the biggest news for myself and Helena is because we're Victorians. That's a 12th man reference. No one's going to get that on this station. I'm referencing a comedy record from the 80s that Australian. Yeah, American. I don't know what he's talking about. However, Melbourne metropolitan area has gone back into lockdown for 6 weeks. We're on phase 3 because, the Premier, which is the same level as Governor, if I get that correct, in the United States, is saying, families met each other, and that's why we've got a spike in cases and everything else like that. Mind you, I think it's like 3-4 weeks ago, there was Black Lives Matter protests, and 10,000 people gathered in one spot. Now, I'm not saying that's how it was transmitted, but the optics of that is people saw, obviously this virus thing isn't really that dangerous if you allow 10,000 people to rock up at one spot. And so people sort of started breaking the rules, and everything else like that. Go ahead, Mr. Z.
Clearly, Monty, I mean, it is observing their black privilege, obviously.
Yes, it's all that. But America, like Australia, when you describe an Australian and an American, it's an idea. It's not like the Nazi Party in Germany is like, where were here first? The idea is that you can come anywhere, and if you fall in line with the values, which is quite nice, like, be nice to each other, land of plenty, everything else like that, you can be Australian. Also, you can bring all the good parts, like there are so many Chinese restaurants here, and there's good food. There's also Greek, Italian, across the board. Helena has a Spanish background, and I'm just going blank. It's like, the Spanish didn't do that well in South America, but the good parts of cultures come here, and it's a mixing pot. So, Helena, if you want to share your story, because I think I try to lay it up to now, because part of your achievements is like you started a business, and then the lockdown started and all that. Can you see where I'm trying to draw a connection? Where have you been, Helena?
So Helena, let me just jump in here real quick. So Helena, the station's 10 years old. Helena came in about 3 or 4 years after the station, became a real station, so to speak. So that was like 6 years ago, and she was an integral part of it. She had a show, and so why don't you catch us up on Helena on what's basically happened with your life? It sounds like massive changes, and I'm not going to lie, Helena. Jesus said, this is what Jesus said. He said, if you look upon a woman and you got lust in your heart, you got adultery. So Helena, I kind of got adultery in my heart when I look upon you, because you're such a beautiful woman. But anyways, tell us your story. Go ahead.
Thanks, HiJacker. I appreciate the ego stroke. I really do. I'm still a single woman. Okay, so 2012, so HiJacker is actually 8 years. So I joined the station 2012, and I do believe I was the only, or one of the first female hosts And so someone found me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Helena Phoenix. There's a lot of my music on there. And Nighthawk invited me to be a host here on Revolution Radio. I actually thought it was a joke at the time. I had just got married. It wasn't a joke. It was a legitimate radio station. And Nighthawk and Tone said to me, "You're completely uncensored. We don't know who you are. Just talk about whatever you want." Right? It was a Twilight Zone moment for me, and I did it. I took the bull by the horns. So at that time, it was the year I just got married. I was very much in love. It became very tumultuous marriage within the very first year. I was not safe, but I continued to be a host here at the station from that time to 2018, on and off a little bit because I was having a lot of issues. But my point is, my shows were about, I mean, I got deep. I spoke a lot about the law of attraction and, living our higher selves. Now, I was talking about this stuff while I was in a really bad marriage. So I was faking it till I made it. And I tell you what, guys, I absolutely made it. I found the courage, and I found the courage to leave the situation the beginning of 2018 due to all the amazing people I'd met at the station during that time that gave me the strength and made me believe that I was so much better as a woman than to be in a sexless, godless, faithless, damaging marriage. So I had the courage, and I got up, I took my daughter, and I left. Well, in our car, homeless for a little while. God blessed me with a lot of money, and it wasn't money from my marriage.
Right. So Helena, did the information about Alternative Truth Radio collide with what your former husband knew, and that it created the divide?
No, not at all. Actually, I do believe that he understood a lot of what was going on in the world as well. He wasn't ignorant to it. There was just no bonding. There was no love, HiJacker. There was no love. So anyway, I left, and so now there's been 2.5 years I've been alone, and I can just tell the world, anyone that's followed my work, I'm doing extremely well. I'm extremely healthy. My life is, it's really amazing what I'm capable of, just me by myself, and what I've actually achieved. I'm a successful business owner. I own a couple of cars. I've got great friends. I've got love in my life. I've got, my life is very on point at the moment. So the knowledge and the information I learned from Revolution Radio, what I brought to the table, I implemented in my life, and it worked. So I'm at a completely different level at the moment with my information and who I am as a person. And here I am back with the good old boys, coming back and being on a round table, gone full circle. And thanks for letting me just get that out. And I'm Helena Phoenix. Go check out my YouTube, because it's pretty cool. I write music. I do all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm very responsible, but I really do have a crazy side. But, I run a business. I'm a mum. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. But we need time to have a bit of a crazy side, and that's what I bring. Fun, joy, music, art, creation. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Actually,
what's your business?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What's your business, Helena?
I own a gift shop. It's just a big gift shop in town. In the six, yeah. But I'm actually moving more into life coaching, etc. So I'll probably eventually get out of that, because I've got other big plans. I have plans. I make them happen. I make stuff happen. I help other people make stuff happen as well, and it's really quite good. But that's enough of me.
Oh, well, because here in Victoria, as I said, our metropolitan area of Melbourne, which is around about 10,000 kilometres square, which I'm going to guesstimate is 5,000 miles square.
Monty, before you go, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to let everyone know too. About 1.5 years ago, I went to Monty's house on 2 occasions because he produced 2 songs for me. Like I wrote the songs and he produced them. So I've hung out with Monty quite a few times. We've gone out for pizza, haven't we, Monty?
Yes, we've proven to each other that we exist.
Yeah.
Because the rest of you have no idea. You could be bots. Let's be fair. Unless I see you in front of me, it's a very narrow view of reality.
How do we know they're real? Like, we know each other's real.
Yeah, because it was shared space. So we did have lockdown across the state from around about March 19th or March 21st, around then, and then they started to ease back about a week or 2 ago, and then there was another spike, which it's just in Victoria, strangely enough, and the government is what American they're like Democrats. That's the best way of saying it. They're the liberal in the true sense, not because here in Australia our conservatives are called liberal. Yeah, Australia. But with all the knowledge you had, and can you just quickly share? You had a business and you survived lockdown, because a lot of businesses haven't, because they're running so thin with margins and everything else like that. And then yeah.
Okay. Music shops were inundated. So music shops stayed open, and apparently music shops did the best sales they've done in a long time. So people were actually starting to create music at home. So music shops were doing really well, didn't close. The street where my shop is, I was actually the only shop that closed because I had to be home with my daughter because she wasn't at school, so I couldn't be in the shop. But the strip that I'm on, everyone else was open. What I found during the COVID time was different things were happening in different places, which was just congruent with the big contradictions that were happening. Like, okay, so you can go to Kmart and not get the virus, but if you go into a small shop, you can get the virus. I mean, the contradictions were ridiculous. So my town, we just carried on like normal. But I stayed home. I did the lockdown for a couple of months. I had a really good time because I won't tell you why, but I had a great time for 2 months at home. But most of the shops in my area, they all stayed open.
Yeah, being Central Victoria, I'm not sure what the population is for the town. I'm going to pick a number and say, oh no, it's one. It's like a satellite city.
Is this Melbourne?
I'm in Melbourne, and Helena's about 2.5 hours drive north.
So the population of Melbourne is 135,959.
No, Melbourne actually is about 4.5 to 5 million people.
Yeah.
Oh, really? This is not what it's saying here.
Well, it could be the metropolitan area, but Victoria's around about 8 million, and 4.5, maybe 5 million are centralised in Melbourne, and that's sort of what over the last 2 to 3 years. There's a lot of the infrastructure can't hold, and because everyone's coming here for whatever reason, and old Melbourneites like myself and Helena is like, oh, people go away. Yeah, this space. We're like, why do you all have to live in one spot?
You know what they were doing? So in the city, I don't know if the US had the toilet paper craze. Did you have the toilet paper craze over there?
I think they did in some places. Yeah, they had the rush on toilet paper.
Yeah. So what was happening is in the city, in Melbourne City, the suburbs were running out of toilet paper. So they were driving 2.5 hours here, right, to get toilet paper.
Yeah.
Can I talk a little bit on that real quick?
Yes, of course. It's a round table.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. You got the mechanic over here, and people would drive in 6 hours to buy toilet paper from like some small little tackle shop north of here, right? It was ridiculous. But I want to get a little deeper with you, just on the same subject, though. Do you think the fact that a planet called Uranus had a leak? It was the front story, it was the cover of several newspapers across the country. At the same time, we had a shortage on toilet paper.
Oh, look, just NASA's questionable. But yeah, they love playing little games like that, don't they? Uranus had a leak.
Isn't that special? Isn't that just a sweet little tidbit right there?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Hong Kong, they actually had crews that hijacked trucks with toilet paper But also, Tucker Carlson talked about Australia, what they went through as far as their lockdown, how many people actually died or whatever. And so he was actually talking about how Australia, basically, like Sweden, they didn't go through everything that everybody else went through. Go ahead.
Well, I think I've thought about that. We have small numbers in population. We're about 25 to 28 million on the size of the continental United States, where you have about 330 million in the same amount of space. And there's been more deaths here in Victoria. I think it's 12 or 13. If you're in the chat, please correct me. Which is very, very, very low numbers compared to 100,000 in the United States. But we've had over, I think, 117 people die on the roads in car crashes and stuff. And apparently over 300 people have committed suicide. But this is getting into the global narrative where they're still pushing that they're trying to stop a pandemic from happening because it'll be much worse because the medical system sucks. That's the one thing about all of this in the last 6 months. Everything that we know about politicians, leadership, the medical profession, just everything is broken or corrupt, and it doesn't work.
Well, everything's shutting down at the same time.
Yes.
I don't believe in coincidences. That's not a coincidence. These things are planned long in advance. I mean, let's go back to 2010, right? Foundation. The Rockefeller Foundation puts forth a scenario-based pandemic where they describe everything to a T. And then you add Event 201 to that, which, let's see, our partners involving the Bill Gates Foundation and the Johns Hopkins University, as well as our boy Tom Hanks, who's recently in the news. What a sellout scumbag that guy is.
Good old Tom Hanks.
Well, I just want to tell Helena in the Northwest here in the United States, Western Washington. So there's a nursery that we go to get plants, and they would have been closed. But what they did, because they sold fish, they added the fish food, which was pet food. So they considered all these fish that you stock these ponds with. This business classified them as pets, and once you classified them as pets and could sell pet food, then you could stay open. And this was a creative type of concepts that these businesses in Western Washington stayed open. So if you got a gift shop, sell pet food, Helena, and you can stay open. Go ahead.
Or essentials. You just all I have to do is sell hand sanitizer in there and you can stay open. Like you just have to sell essentials. But the funny thing is, where I was, no one was closing, and you weren't even essential.
The non-participation factor right there, Elaine. I could appreciate that.
Yeah, and also, well, it was good for me to have a couple of months off, so I was happy. But the other thing is, sorry to interrupt, Monty. The other thing was that with the shops being open, I can't even remember what I was going to say. Never mind.
It'll come back to you. That's what Planet Collingwood does.
Yeah. Anyway, I was happy to be closed for a couple of months, and I've got a couple of employees now, so I've actually given myself 5 months off so I can do creative work, and I've got employees in the shop, so they're not shutting us down again yet at all.
No.
Again, there was a lot of contradictions, Monty. That's what I wanted to say. Some towns were like, yeah, we know there's a COVID, but everyone's just doing their thing. And then other places you go to, everyone's wearing a mask. Like, it was just different everywhere you went.
Mm-hmm.
It's really strange, actually.
Well, like in my area, it's not by postcode. It's just, I think, by council, which is similar to county, I believe, for our American friends. We've got one case in Whitehorse. Ooh.
Well,
However,
you
on the
better stay inside.
oh yeah, because I did see a headline. Apparently, the WHO, there is emerging evidence that COVID could be airborne. It's like, yeah, but 3 weeks ago you said that asymmetic aren't infectious, and that's the other thing. There's this
It's okay. We have masks on.
yeah, which don't work because there's it's.
How dare you? How dare you?
You sound like a 16-year-old Swedish girl. How dare you? But there's way too many contradictions. I agree with Mechanic that things are planned. I would put forward to you, sir, is that Prime Creator, Source, Flying Spaghetti Monster, whatever, just the universe has gone, oh, you're planning this. And I'm going to kick it off too early. And that's what we've seen, where it came out in October in China, and it's taken up to here. And if it was supposed to do what it's supposed to do, would all be in hard lockdown. Like here in Melbourne, there's housing commission flats, which is basically projects, which is kind of demeaning. Why call multi apartment buildings project? This is a project. We'll see what happens. It's kind
exactly.
of rude.
Well, hey, I was about to say the same thing. That's exactly what it is. I'm not being ridiculous here. No. That's how they operate in this mockery form. I'm telling you.
And I actually got that from Public Enemy, where it's like, what they call it the projects. It's like that,
I was going to go there as well. You and we got some things in common.
Oh yeah, once we're freely able to leave the country, we'll hang out. I've got to go to Bruce.
I wish I could send you a rifle. Sorry,
I wouldn't know what it is. Or it's every time. Like I remember joining or coming onto the station.
Metal sticks, is it?
Where do you put the battery? What's going? This torch looks odd. When I came onto Revolution Radio, it's like, oh, you're Australian. You lost all your guns, and I'm thinking, what guns? I mean, the farmers and stuff did, but we're not a gun society because we've got Australian apathy. So like, oh, I could shoot him, but I'll have to stand up and go over to the cupboard and get the. I'm gonna.
So Monty, I got to tell you, you actually got record-breaking numbers right now for your show, and so, we need to talk about the most important thing, and that's what's coming up in 2020, this election. If America falls, the whole world falls.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, but
we need to talk about that.
We're not quite puking blood in the streets right now, there, Jacker.
It's coming. It's coming.
I don't think so. I think
let's not start a fight right now. Go ahead.
I'm not even on board with that. This public is going to come at it. I'm telling you, this public's going to handle it.
That's the thing. It's from the last 6 months of 2020. It's very hard to project or game out what's happening in a week. Like in the last week, you've had, unfortunately, an 8-year-old girl being killed by Black Lives Matter protests.
There's actually a video they have now. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, and apparently, no one's touching it apart from sensible common sense people like us. It's like, if Black Lives Matter, why did you take a life of an 8-year-old black girl?
This
really?
is a synthetic, artificial operation. Yeah, nothing less.
Terry Crews, the comedic actor, he's getting a lot of grief because he's got this strange thing about unity and treating everyone equally. And a lot of people are calling out Black Lives Matter because their manifesto is like, we want to, all white man bad, destroy family, everything else like that, as well as it's a political movement. And it used to be about police brutality.
What I saw was a black-on-black crime where Terry Crews beat the living crap out of Mr. Don Lemon. Over.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, metaphorically, of course. It's like, it's that's that illusion is slowly being eroded. It's about racism. Yeah, but I keep seeing statistics that black-on-black crime is huge. Like this, if it's 13% of the population and 50% of homicides are done by black people. It's not, go ahead, Mr. Z.
Here's something weird I ran into, and I can't really blame these people for standing up for what they believe in. But I don't want to say recently, but obviously in the the aftermath of this whole Black Lives Matter, the protest, the George Floyd thing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. what's actually come out of it over here is that there are legitimate people that are legitimately protesting because there has been underlying racial tensions and, quite honestly, borderline segregation of black communities in certain places. And the really messed up thing about this is that they could have not stood up at a worse time right now, because as clean and pure as those people's message is, which is, hey, we're here too, we matter, all it's doing right now is stoking the fire and drawing harder lines in the sand when it comes to segregation and this racial tension. And this is becoming kind of a problem now.
Yeah, it's been co-opted. Go ahead, Helena.
Yeah, totally co-opted. You know, the whole Soros-funded social engineering. This is just another psyop, socially engineered exercise. That
are you referring to open societies and such? These over 200 different organizations operated, financed by George Soros and company. You are right on the money, sweetheart. Dart on the arrow.
Thank you, mechanic. Thanks. Yeah. So throwing peanuts, and the people that are actually running for the peanuts are the ones that we need to be careful with. The fact that it's making so much media also creates an illusion like this must be the most important thing happening in the world right now. Now, what I'm really enjoying, and I'm actually big on memes, like a meme. I don't know how many of you are on Facebook, but a powerful meme, like there's a meme that the left can't meme. Like the left, they cannot meme, right? No. They just cannot meme. And the rest of us,
and they can't handle them either.
And they can't handle them. All the snowflakes, you know, they melt at the, and it's the discerning, woken. There's a big awakening happening. Consciousness is elevating, all that stuff. So they're in. We know they're in the death throes. We've been saying it for years now because we said it 6-8 years ago. The death throes might take 15, 20 years to happen, but they're happening, and they're not going to go down without a massive fight. And just what we're witnessing with how they're playing so dirty, you know, just dirty. It's like if I'm in the room with someone and I bang my head against the wall and I start screaming, so someone comes in and go, oh, they just banged me, you know, they just punched me in the head. That type of low life social engineering bullshit that, game that they're playing, and I'm actually not paying any attention to it. Being on this round table, listening to this is the most I've heard about it, because I just will not let my consciousness go there.
Yeah, you're not adding energy to it, being a neutral observer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the thing is too, Monty, sorry, because it's happening over there, but have you let everybody know that we did have like Black Lives Matter protests down here, like
which is
social
asinine.
Yeah.
Asinine.
If I may, sort of. They're using George Floyd to bring up the grievances of how the First Nations are treated here in Australia, which is valid. It's like yeah, but this is why I don't go out in public, because if someone started screaming Black Lives at me, I would say
it's just a mechanism, right?
Yeah. If I may, it's kind of comedic, but I would say so. It takes an ex-convict high on fentanyl and meth that resists arrest that you decide to care about Australian Aboriginals. That's nice. And it's just it's a trigger point. It's like, well, they're doing it, we can do it. Australia always like.
And don't forget he died of COVID. All right, you insensitive bastard.
Yeah, and apparently had a haircut from when he was standing up until when he had his knee had a knee on the back of his head. Have you seen that footage? There's two photos
where Freemason with his knee on the back of the bald guy's head. Yeah.
Yeah, and yet this footage of George with hair and like that, I don't delve anymore because I know it's with all my weird time lord.
Didn't even know that guy was a cop, Monty.
Well, they knew each other apparently because they worked in a nightclub earlier, security and stuff, and there's just way too. That's the other thing of like, if something happens naturally, we don't really talk about it. It's like, oh, this happened. Bang, 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 bang.
Wife.
Yeah, well, who knows? Well, someone actually brought up a great question about the whole George Floyd thing. Has anyone proven that it was a racial attack?
How dare you?
No, and you know what? The mugshots don't even match the guy playing the role of the cop.
Yeah, I know the hairline moves and the ears are different.
Nothing's the same. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Epstein, when the body was taken out, different ear.
Different army.
Yeah, and did you notice? I think we mentioned it last week because I can't. Geraldine or whatever her name is, Maxwell. 30 seconds after it was announced that she got arrested, the memes flooded the internet, and that's sort of the level of awakening we are at. Because
check this out, I got a breadcrumb for you on this. So right away, right, Maxine gets arrested. She says she's going to talk. Same 24-hour period.
Yeah,
Governor Newsom passes a mandate that says no singing in church.
Really? I mean, I'm not a fan of the church, but that's telling us, like, how dare
that's
even
no coincidence.
Yeah, and it's not like you're doing blood sacrifices and killing chickens and praising Lord Jesus.
Well, at least not at that church.
There is that. But even from a community aspect, where because isn't that one of the ideas of the United States is you can worship God in any way you want, within reason.
Yeah.
Like
I just think it's symbolic. I mean,
yeah. Like why not have being it's great community, and what's wrong with community and unity? And so it's interesting that the United States, the whole world's just gone weird, but the United States seems to be the front line. Now, to bring in a bit of comedy, because I'm trying to balance the comedy with the deepness, I forgot to mention my whole idea, tagline of my show is we have a hit of hopium and look at fair porn. Is that Kanye West has announced he's running for the presidency of the United States.
New album, publicity drop. I'm over it already. And even if he was, it would only help Trump, and damn as the Dems, I'm out.
Well, that's
hold on. But if you guys don't vote for Kanye, you're going to be accused of being racist. I mean, this could be a whole setup.
They won't be able to turn this on it because the guy's been running around with a MAGA hat on for the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah, cool. Oh, that's right. He has two.
Yeah.
He has two.
Some of the far left.
Listen, here's something really scary. Okay, a rapper of questionable mental state is being put forth before Joe Biden.
Yeah, and you know which one I would vote for? The musician, because I'm not really.
At least we don't get like grilled teeth and stuff like that.
Yeah. John, you're like this. Someone actually complained about President Trump saluting to the military. It's like
that's horrible.
I know.
Yeah,
civilians don't salute. He's the commander in chief, you tosspot. He's the top guy. He's the leader. What are you trying to gaslight the troops? Like, oh, the leader doesn't like us. He won't salute. Like, really? That's interesting as well. The whole Mount Rushmore thing.
Yeah, that was a good one.
There's so many memes about that. It's like, Mount Rushmore is stolen land from the Sioux. It's like, yeah, and and they stole it from the Cheyenne. Oh, okay. And there's footage of every Democrat going to Mount Rushmore, going like 4 years ago. It's so patriotic. It's so fantastic. But Trump's there. Oh no, this is racist and evil. This is the level that they're working at. It is just they've taken steroids to go orange man really bad.
Oh, we're playing with a video camera in the children's sandbox now, Monty.
Okay, I'll be Trump. Oh, you're really bad. You're evil. The last show, the Y-Files, is I think Mechanic, you asked the question, is Donald Trump a racist? And no, I mean, I'm 50-50 with Trump. I wouldn't want to meet him, and he's got an ego and he's playing the whole media, but he's still better than Hillary.
You can't exist in that platform without an ego, Monty. Period.
Yeah, well, yeah, there has to be. You can't be shy and retiring and then try and talk to a crowd of thousands. Hi. Shh, I'm trying to talk, everyone.
Can you imagine? We're not going to listen, folks. Don't get your hopes up. We're not going to see a debate between Biden and Trump. That's not going to happen. They're not going to let that happen.
Well, no, because Biden doesn't know who he is. It's like really, it's
I'm pretty sure at this point he's been chemically lobotomized.
Yeah, it's something. He's been hit in the head, or the clone's just a really bad batch, and they've lost the receipt, so they can't take it back. And for those playing at home, saying, "Oh, we know that we're talking about a corrupt system, and it's corrupt." So that's one of the themes mainly that on this show that we talk about. We're talking about a corrupt system. Yes, we know. We're at the end point where Bashar, not the leader of Syria, I have to point that out, said we're going through the eye of the needle in 2020. I know Viking on the Galactic Intergalactic Council, I may have got his show, which I do listen to each week. That's what the Galactics have been saying as well. The In Code, if I can talk pony, the guy that we know, not an actual pony, because there'll just be a lot of hee-hawing. 2020 vision, 2020 hindsight. It's the numerology, and the universe works in weird ways, in awesome ways.
Can we get a bit esoteric about what's happening and what's been happening? Can we get a little bit esoteric with it all?
Yeah. Everyone put your woo hats on.
Your woo hats. Oh, actually, I won't go that woo. Don't worry about it. I won't go that woo.
Let's start off on the Crazy Schumann's residency, because that's actually been pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think in the last 24 hours or 48 hours, there was like a burst, because Viking has said it's like birthing pains, and so it's fluctuating, when breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and then all of a sudden there's just this white line.
Actually, is Viking still on the call? Because I haven't spoken to Viking in many years, but I've got a feeling we might be on the same page with this. Is Viking still here?
I believe so. There he is.
So we got hit last week. The human resonance is doing what was known as a heartbeat. Last week it went erratic. We got hit by the Orions. They tried to disrupt the feed, and it went absolutely ballistic, and we went off scale. But in the last 3 days, it came back into an atonement. If you really study the human resonance, there is an actual heartbeat that's occurring here that is slowly terraforming our conscious awareness on this planet. So we are in between two worlds. We are literally aggressing into a new paradigm. And as Helena's pointing out, you could use the media as a way to understand their strategy, but don't entangle in their agenda, because this is the same agenda that's been used in the downfall of Atlantis, to keep us programmed, to keep us with implants of fear and chaos, to keep us in this artificial, it's organic, but it's artificial state of reality, so they can feed upon us and control us. But what's happening here on all levels is that each time they move forward, so they've been in a defensive posture since Trump came to office. They're no longer offensive, and they need to play out, to the point where the more they move forward with their dastardly deeds and their stratagem, more people wake up. They're actually shooting themselves in the foot. So I've taken the stance where I'm cheering them on. They need to play out. They need to play out all the way to the end, so we can completely find our salvation here. Because the more that they move forward in their agenda, the more people wake up. And so they are actually in contrast to the awakening process. They're doing exactly what they need to do. So without judgment and without any kind of trying to, make it better or change who they are, just don't get involved. Disentangle into your passion.
Yep, let them have the tower moments. They are
Exactly.
having constant tower moments. We've got to let them have it. We've got to let it play out. Most importantly, what I've learned in this time is during the time of lockdown and all this craziness going on, and people are being very challenged. Domestic violence is on the rise, but also consciousness is on the rise. So the split that we've been talking about for years, I believe that we are experiencing the split. People who don't get it are going to be left behind. It's kind of like Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon. Cro-Magnon figured out some stuff. Neanderthal didn't. Cro-Magnon kept moving forward. This is another split we're in. People who aren't using they're not cerebral, they're not thinking, they're not heart-centered. They're in victim consciousness, or they're in abuse consciousness. What the top of the pyramid is going to be reflecting down to people is actually their own consciousness. The top of the pyramid can't exist. It can't live if the bottom is not there. So all this shifting around, I know exactly what side I'm on now. This is the thing you mentioned before about Biden not knowing who he is. I love what you said, Monty, because what it comes down to is we must know who we are. We must know who we are. And the stronger we become, because we're not pawns. We're brought up to believe we're pawns, but once we start understanding our power, our role in all this, the role in our own lives with people in our lives, I've actually just come to the point to 0 point where, to me, I'm just staying in a state of love as much as I can. I know that sounds really corny, and I never really used to understand it, but I stay in a place of love, and like you said, Viking, like that non-judgment. Let them have it. I'll do my work over here. All right. I don't need to be out there protesting. And when I see people do that, I can see the redundancy of it. Makes me laugh. And then you throw in the element of the peanuts and the Soros funded and the social engineering. It's like, that's okay. I know how split lines work. You're living that timeline. Well, I'm over here having a good time. I already get that aspect, that esoteric aspect of reality. So I've done my work. So I'm there.
So the initial step here is in order to find your self-reflection or your self-love, is to awaken to the fact that this reality that they have subjugated us in, and they've literally put viruses in our DNA to hold us back. The awakening process, giving yourself great permission and strength and courage to back away from this agenda, is what we are tasked to do at this point in non-time. That's all it is. And it can be on any level. Yeah. You don't have to be a yogi. You don't have to crack a book. You don't have to be meditating. If you can let go of this false reality, this false paradigm, and find your passion, you are on point.
It's an individual battle. I 100% agree with you. I'm not on the same level. I can't. I haven't educated myself in your league that you're in with the Galactic Alliance. I'm just not educated enough in the subject matter. But I feel like there's a metaphor attached to it in a way where they have kind of intersected this frequency that travels between human beings at all levels. And it's been corrupted. This frequency has been corrupted. It's been interrupted. And it's the frequency that does allow us to grow, because as we grow as a people, right, so do we grow as individuals. We learn our own strengths and what we can bring to the table in our communities and with each other. And this can turn into a very positive outlet, a very positive thing to unite against right now. It's an incredible opportunity. We have an opportunity right now to where we all know the winners write the history books. Okay? We can change that. We can change that, and we can become the winners, and we'll remain a part of history that takes back it. We take it back, right? We take it back at this point. We have the opportunity.
Yep. And
right? Go ahead.
This is the stuff that might sound a little bit far out to people who don't know who they are, who aren't in their power, who don't know how to create in their lives. This kind of conversation sounds a bit wild.
I don't know how much I agree with what you just said right there, but the whole galactic thing, if that's what you're referring to, yeah, that's something I've never dived into. So
no, I think Viking's more on the galactic side. I'm not. yeah, I'd say Viking is more on that side. I probably am as well. I'm just not quite conscious of it yet.
The interesting thing is about what I try and do. I'm just going to share is I try and get everyone's perspective, because there's this running theme all the way through. Like Mechanic, if all the stuff that Viking talks about, if that doesn't resonate with you, it's not for you on a certain aspect, but still the premise of what he's saying, you've just repeated back. You're doing it your way, where as an example, the 3D world that we're told that is what we're supposed to live in sounds awesome, but it's not there because the system is corrupted. And so even if on that level, like, imagine the world if we got rid of the central banks and the knock-on effect from that, then it can go all the way up into self-mastery and living the mystic daily life. It depends on what you're here for. And so, as Viking keeps pointing out, or most of us point out, find your passion. And
your purpose. And what's your purpose? People are walking around purposeless. Like, do you even have a purpose? Okay, if you don't have
my
a
purpose is on my sleeve every day. I'm the only guy in the grocery store that houses 100 to 250 at any given time during this time of year. I'm the only dude in there without a mask. And let me tell you, it's euphoric. It's a buzzsaw going off in my head. I got eyeballs everywhere I turn. I'm in the dark, surrounded by coyotes. It's insane.
Yeah. Find your passion, find your purpose.
No doubt, right?
Yeah, if you want to, if you have that 0 point thing of playing guitar, and you can write and record and release stuff, and that's your passion and that's your purpose. If you want to sell shoes, which is not a bad job, it is quite a good job, because this. I'm not going to be a shoe salesman, but my shoes suck, so I can see the joy of selling someone a pair of shoes like these are perfect. They'll last forever. Pardon?
Nothing against Al Bundy.
No, don't. That's not. Don't worry. That's the first thing I thought as well when I said shoe salesman. Not the example that we're going for. However, if you love what you do and then do what you love, a lot of people have gotten into radio and doing this because they like sharing information, and I like making people laugh with the information and all that type of thing. It's if you want to be a bus driver, there's nothing wrong with that. Because that's what you're here to do. It's like anyone that works in public transport, that's service to others, because you're helping someone get to the shops to get food instead of walking for 45 minutes. They can get on a bus and be there in 7. Now we're coming up to the midpoint, so we're going to change sides and have some oranges. And you're listening to Revolution Radio. This is Planet Collingwood. I'm going to call this episode on YouTube "The Return of the Phoenix," Helena Phoenix. I actually about a month ago, it's like one of the titles for my for the show.
It could be Phoenix Rising.
Yes. I'll see how the other arrow goes, and I'll tweak that as well. So Phoenix is going to be in the title, but I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, is you're rioting for George, Soros or Floyd, and that video did well. So just by putting it into comedy, it breaks up the energy and the information gets through. And I know everyone on the call likes to laugh because I've heard you.
Can I just basically give you a big shout out, Monty, because I think I said this to you I did say this to you the other day in a private conversation. I think what you've got to bring to the table, especially at this time, like your high vibration, the humor, the knowledge, the sharing knowledge, opening up dialogue, like what you're bringing to the table is so needed at the moment. This is probably more than any other year. And I said to you, it's time to shine, Monty, because honestly, it's your time now, and I'll support your work. I will share your stuff where I can, because you're really needed at the moment. And I just feel really passionate about that right now, like stepping into our power. It's our time to shine. Well, we've got so much to give. You've got so much to give, Monty, and someone needs to tell you, because it's your time, mate.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to have a reflection. We are going to a break. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. This is Planet Collingwood. We shall return after these quick messages. Welcome back to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, revolution.radio. This is Planet Collingwood, Open Roundtable. My name is Monty. Hello. If you enjoyed the last hour, please go to the said website, freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, and donate what you can. That way we'll help out the station stay on air, both Studio A and B, 144 hours each week. And I believe we are working on getting the archives back up and running because of when the mighty Nighthawk shifted frequency. There was a lot of movement at the station, or ranch, if you will. And we're finally catching up on that. So the archives are a brilliant way because there's no way you can listen to everything at once because you can't have two studios going at once. Well, you can, but you have no idea what they're talking about. And once you've done that at the website, pop in and buy some merch, hats and T-shirts, and wear them proudly, and people go, what's that? And then pop into the chat room with like-hearted, like-minded, and just liked people. SJ's there, Jer Bear. Lauren has been having interesting challenges trying to listen to us. So hello, Lauren. Hopefully the Mercury retrograde has stopped stuffing you around with your programming and everything else like that, and hopefully you can hear us. And of course, you can always go to my YouTube channel and listen to the replay. I have been joined by Helena Phoenix, John Z, the Mechanic, and the Viking. I'm the Monty, she's the Phoenix, and he's the Z. Everyone's called the now. Fantastic first hour. It just flew by. That's always a good sign where bit of time travel in Roman numeral time. I would like to put forward, I was going to, something that Helena said, apart from all the praise where my head got really big and I couldn't get out through a doorway because like, I'm so awesome. Moving on, is conversation. Conversation. That's sort of one thing that will help sort of bring back unity or instead of this constant conflict. Now, the thing is, you've got the left-right paradigm, but there's people on the left going, we're not with those insane far-left nut jobs because they're insane and they're nut jobs. And a lot of people who were left have gone central and right, and they keep moving the goalposts all around and common sense and everything. It's very hard to have a conversation because, like Black Lives Matter from the footage I've seen in the United States, is you're protesting. Yes, we're systematic racism and police brutality. Okay, let's sit down and talk about police brutality. We should have some reforms and get better training exercises and let's say a month's worth of training of jiu-jitsu where you realize if you come from the army, you're not supposed to kill people. You're supposed to serve and protect and de-escalate. And their response is, oh, white people should die. It's like very hard to have a conversation at the moment because these people are just batshit crazy. That's the clinical term. You saw it in Seattle where it's like the summer of love and then two teenagers get shot. Like, really? And so and it's hard for one side if there is only two sides, but it's hard for one side because one side they're just a 5-year-old who's dropped their rattle and they're screaming their head off. And the other side is sort of triggering, I think, because it's if you get attacked, there's this strange sort of feeling of defending yourself. But it's kind of hard to you can't have a conversation. And we're seeing that with Trump as well, where he's been attacked for 4.5 since he said, I'm running for the United States. He's worse than Satan. And what's the drug starts with H? Hydroxychloroquine, whatever it is. Someone put out I know I should get better. An article saying like I think it was CNN. Yay! They've said, oh look, this did help people, and they said
hydroxychloroquine. Let's get it out there.
Yeah. Or even just do some proper trials and and not be corrupted
they
by
It's been around for years. They treat malaria in Vietnam. You can go back to Korea. You can go back to I believe World War II. They might have even had it by then. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Tonic water, and zinc.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm not a medical professional, but zinc has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Well,
And
you
the
know
thing-
what?
and
On the bottles, actually,
or-
on the container, when you buy a bottle of zinc, it actually says it on there. So it wasn't me. I didn't make it up. I'm not a doctor, but it says it on the container of zinc. Zinc.
The thing is, it's the media and certain people. They hate Trump with a passion. Anything he says, they attack him. And if he came out yesterday, I'm time traveling. If he comes out tomorrow and says, "I've got a cure for cancer. Here are all the trials, and all these people are cancer free," they would instantly go, "Well, what about all those oncologists? They'll lose their jobs. What's wrong with you?"
Yeah,
these are the people that are drinking that Kool-Aid. Over.
Yeah, and it's very hard to have a conversation. That brilliant young lady is it the press secretary at the one who does the press conferences at the White House. I can't remember the title that she has, but she brought up that unfortunate 8-year-old girl being killed because no one asked her about it, and it's the media's got a certain narrative, but there's crap happening, and
There's crap happening. There's crap happening. Let me tell you what. Every incident to date regarding these riots and protests where there's been a murder is a consequence of their own actions.
Yeah, even
That's the reality.
I remember David Dawn. Apparently, I think it was one or two, but they arrested 2 suspects in that. He's a retired police captain who was checking out a friend's pawn shop. That's with a W, not an R.
A pawn shop.
Pawn, yeah, not porn.
Yeah,
pawn, yeah, it's accents. What are you going to do? And he was shot in the back of the head, and of course the media
over TV, folks.
And there's just people that have been angry and stuck in the woo-woo land. They haven't done the inner work. They haven't faced the shadow. They're just going. Some people may call them NPCs, which is non-playing characters, which is just goes to what like Viking is saying. You sort of have to let it play out. Now that doesn't mean you could be aware of it, don't entangle, but that still means you can defend yourself and just be healthy. Don't walk towards gunfire, simple things, and just be aware of things that are happening and make a spiritual choice of like, I don't want this. I want to, like, Helena's a good example. If I can slide across, is she was in a dark place because of bad things, and she decided, I'm going to be a better person, and here she is. Better person, and she is raising
you can do it yourself. Like I did well, with the help of a lot of wonderful people too. I can tell you how much being a radio host at Revolution Radio just changed me as a person exponentially. I went from being a victim-y, very abused, I grew up with a lot of abuse, to really standing in my power. And when you're around 70, well, I wasn't around 70 hosts, but when you're around a radio station where they're interviewing authors and world speakers and VIPs on subjects about the mind and standing in your power, it changes you. It changed me to my very core. So actually, I just want to make a little announcement too. So I've got another maybe 10, 15 minutes to be on this call, but I actually reached out to Mr. Rowe because I got all this time off to myself now. I've got employees in the shop, and I wanted to give myself time for creativity. So I messaged Mr. Rowe some weeks ago about, if I can come back and be a host at Revolution Radio a couple of hours a week. Unfortunately, I haven't heard back from Mr. Rowe, so I'm wondering if silence is actually a no. I'm not quite sure. So
no. He's in San Francisco, and that's the 6th level of hell at the moment. So
I might have to message someone else, but I'd love to come back and have another show and do a couple of hours a week. So I just wanted to put that out there. And that's all I wanted to say. But yeah, it can be done. Just you stand in your power, learn who you are, what your triggers are, what makes you happy, what makes you unhappy. Be a real person. Make sure your words and your actions are congruent. Don't harm anyone, especially don't harm yourself. Love people around you. If they don't get it and they are in self-harm mode and harm others around them, either teach them or get rid of them. I've decided I want paradise in my life.
Mhm.
I want fun. I want friendship. I want joy. I want lust. I want intimacy. I want all the good stuff. And if I can't have it, I will keep going until I do have it. And I can't have it unless I can give it, and I can give it. So know who you are.
Yeah, know thyself, which I think is in the Bible, and it's very rare I mention the Bible or quote the Bible. But yeah, by knowing thyself, doing the work and getting rid of the gaslighting and the forms, and you have to do this, you have to do this, all ego-driven and just what the false reality that society puts forward.
Yeah, well, all this you're talking about, the Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. It's all just a big exercise in gaslighting. That's why I won't bother with it. It's like you're gaslighting me. I know what I saw. I know what I'm experiencing, and you're gaslighting me. So I will not engage in gaslighting. And this is a big social engineering gaslighting, and I will not participate. You either come to me with logic and reason and truth, or I don't want to know anything about it. I don't mean you. I mean the way that that's
100.
what they're trying to get us to.
100.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that's what we've seen over the last 6 months is because being put into lockdown, people don't have that 40 hours a week going to a job they probably hate. A lot of people are freaking out in lockdown. It's because they have to be with themselves, and things rise. And it's like, why do I keep throwing chairs at the TV? Is there an anger problem? Maybe. And so that by doing the work and seeing how all the energy shifts and people are awakening on many levels because there's a ladder of awakenness, just finding. But a lot of people are waking up to the corruption of the systems and the establishments on the planet. We don't need everyone to go, oh, I'm Jesus, and tap into Christ consciousness. They'll eventually do that. It's on a journey.
Deception, waking up to deception. Because to me, all this again is also another exercise into self-deception. How we've been
putting
programmed.
on the sunglasses.
Yes, from the They Live. Viking, do you want to chime in? Because we're basically we're pitching your show.
No, it's really true. I mean, this is not rocket science. The best that you can do to make the change on this planet and the splitting of this density and the 0 point non-time being in between two worlds is just being your passion. Because in your passion, you'll have access to your affinities and attributes and your visions of life. When you're in your vision of life, you're not thinking. Thinking is a trap. If you think you know what you're doing, you're not even in the same ballpark. You find your passion, you find your vision, and then you start to remember your 9th and 10th chakra, which is remembering who you are and why you're here. And why you're here is just, what is your skill set, skill craft, and skill art that can add to the benevolence of humanity? What is it that gives you joy? As Monty's pointing out, if you're a bus driver, you start to get an affinity with all of your passengers, and you start to interact, and that is your joy. You're in the 0 point on time. You're not engaged in the entanglement of this 3D density of dystopia. You are on task. It is that simple. Find your passion.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna have to go. But before I do, I want to give a big shout out to Why Not, Tony Why Not. So he's still got a show here. He was a very dear friend of mine back when I was going through some hard times. And so was Viking. Actually, Viking gave me some incredible advice many years ago. And when you start listening to people who know their stuff, okay, they know, and they're guiding you, would suggest people to start to listen. If you're in a bad place, you've got people around you who have actually got wisdom and their words are in actions are congruent, listen to them, because there's a lot of guidance out there. There's a lot of people with wisdom, just listen to them. So just on that note, I'm going to go big shout out to Why Not. Like I said, big shout out to you, Monty. Thanks for asking me to join. Hopefully we still get to do that live video. And I'm going to say good night now because I'm going to go pick up my daughter. So
thank you for joining, and I'll be in touch to do the Monty Dean show just for an hour or so, and we can figure that in. Also, SJ says hi, and he's been asking for your number, you rascal.
Oh, he's from Canada, last I remember. And if he calls my shop, I bet the only reason why he wants to call my shop is to go, hey, Helena, do you have any fish rods in there? Sure. Or something like that.
Yes, but
or something for his boat.
Yeah, he's in the chat room. So and today's show is brought to you by SJ's Ninja School for Squirrels. Let your rodent defend you. So yeah, thanks for popping in, and I'll
good
give
to meet you for sure.
Yeah, I'll give you a link.
Bye,
a link to this show so you can share it with people or new people because it was basically it was like an infomercial. It's like, so what have you been doing? Well, and so cool.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for that. Viking, great to hear your voice. John Z, Mechanic, great to meet you. HiJacker, I don't think you're on the call anymore, and Monty and whoever else is on the call. G'day, SJ. So I'll bid you adieu, and hopefully I'll have another show again for a couple of hours on Revolution Radio. I'll see how I go.
I'm sure that will happen. We'll manifest that.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much. Good night, guys.
See you, Helena.
Okay, much love. God bless. Bye.
Bye. Right, we've got 45 minutes. So where would you like to go from here, gents? No?
I'll tell you what. Yeah, go ahead, Viking. Why don't you hit it? I'll come right in after you.
Yeah, because we're sort of get excitable and talk over it, so you haven't had a chance to.
So 3 weeks ago, let's go back to the headline news here. I said that when Condoleezza Rice started to come out of her hole in the ground, she started making a couple of comments. Yesterday on Zero Point, it was mentioned that she's vying for vice presidency in Joe Biden's election. So I was pretty much on task on that one. He has no brain. He's gone. It's been dematerialized, into our conscious awareness. He has no bodily function except if you eat food, you have to poop. That's about it.
Yeah.
And they're really trying to use him as a spearhead, but who takes over that can actually make a performance for the deep state will be Condoleezza Rice. And I don't even think he's going to make it to the presidency. I still think that Como is going to be he's going to become ill in September or October and have to drop out, and Como step in with Condoleezza Rice. So that's my prediction.
Well, it does actually slide in with what you're saying, how in a way you have to let the play out, because with Biden, like I know a lot of, like I see on Facebook, social media, there's a lot of people who don't like Trump, and it's like, yeah, fair enough, I can see why, but I don't know why you have to scream about it 24/7. Then like say, I don't like Trump. Well, don't even get me started on Biden. And so by putting Biden forward, clearly he, you get it. Remember that marionette show, The Thunderbirds? He's like a bad version of that, because if he does get in and he's so blank slate in the mind, he's easily controllable, and he's just he's a puppet, a figurehead. So, and that's sort of that is helping people wake up to how the system is corrupt, and it's a false choice, because do you want the angry orange man, or do you want this ventriloquist doll?
So what's interesting here is that when you really confront people, why is it that you not like him, and they have to stop and think, because that is a mindset that has been programmed. It's literally they're buying into a program that they heard, and it contrasted their own reality of insecurity or whatever, and they held on to it to be true. I mean, I did this and I mentioned this on the show prior. When I confronted my friends, they told me that he wears adult diapers. That was the only thing they could come up with.
Really?
It's like, where did that come from? They don't even know why they don't like him. It's just that fact that they don't like him is their programmed. It's like implant. The implant is don't like Trump. But they don't know why.
That's an occurrence, man. Viking. It happens all the time. You're right on the money, man.
Yeah.
Well, if
that's
you follow
the mindset,
it's an implant.
Follow through,
it's an organic implant that they literally had programmed into their DNA.
If you follow through, he wears adult diapers. Well, he's in his late 70s. He does more than most 20-year-olds. Like I don't know where he's obviously getting vitamins because he's always up and peppy and doing everything. Now, as I've mentioned before, I've watched The West Wing. That's the closest I've seen to American politics. But Martin Sheen, who was president in the show, he never stopped. I think he only sleeps 4 hours a night type thing. And so he's doing all that, and he wears adult diapers because if you think about it, if he didn't, do you want to see a president shit himself on the podium, standing at the podium? Like, and that what's that got to do with creating policy and leading a country? It sounds like a weak excuse. Of like,
well, if you ask them, they'll tell you. They have an answer for you.
Oh, of course.
If you ask any of us, we hope to have an answer for you. But no, if you ask Joe Citizen, wearing the mask in the car with the windows rolled up, doing 5 miles under the speed limit, pulling over the side of the road when he sees one of the road workers setting up a big digital sign that says face mask required, 6 feet wide, 6 feet tall, flashing yellow letters. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen. I borrowed this meme question from the internet somewhere, but someone pointed out, like, if you're wearing a mask in a car by yourself, why? What do you wear a condom when you go to sleep? Like, what's the?
It's chronophobia. I mean, literally, they've bought into it so deep that they're lost. And what Helena was pointing out in the last hour and during the show here is that people are getting this, if they buy into it, if that's their reality and that's what they want to generate as their reality, you have to let them have it. And that's their contract. Their contract is experience life in a way that is unique to them. They need to go through that, because in going through this experience of wearing a mask, I see it all the time as well. Driving down the street, one person, they're wearing a mask. It's like, and they're constantly rubbing on hand sanitizer. But that's what they. But you see, it's like when you fall, you have to fall in non-judgment here and go, well, maybe that's what they need to experience in this lifetime. Maybe that's what they need to do.
The FDA just came out against hand sanitizer. That's funny you say that, Viking. The FDA just came out.
Yeah, I twisted my knee and I went to a hospital a couple days ago. What's interesting about that is before I went in, I had a friend of mine who's an elven, a wood elf. She has healing powers, and I had her hold my knee. And so by the time I got out of my bed, I was already feeling less pain. By the time I was loaded into the ambulance, the pain was gone. By the time I got to the hospital, the pain was gone, and I was completely okay. So it's like, and what I did with her, they said, when you touch my leg, I want you to address my DNA and my telomeres. I want you to program them to seat themselves in their proper place. I mean, I couldn't even move. I could not even move. And 12 hours later, I was walking. But beside that point, people that are literally in this chronophobia are manifesting the reality that they need to manifest to experience life on this planet, to get through their own understanding. And this is why I see it. I go, it's crazy, but that's who they are, and I have to let go. This is part of the disentangling, is even them, in contrast to who you are, is giving you a greater understanding of your own self-awareness.
Yeah, for me, I connect it to free will. It's okay, that's your trip, that's what you do. I've done that with people who are religious and go through the religions. Like, what? Well, go for it. That's what you're here to experience. I have an inkling. I've done the Christianity thing 400 years ago, but I was a monk where extreme poverty, not for me. And it all leads back to source, God, whatever. But it's freedom, free will. It's when we get told that you have to, or everything else like that. And that's where I'm against, like, they're trying to put in the New World Order, but there's too many. There's too many
choosing freedom. People are simply not. If they're not choosing freedom, Monty.
I was about half a sentence away, and then you could have taken the ball and run with it. But
Sorry, man. It's a round table.
I know. Yeah, it's all good. It's being told, but like I know, both you, if you talk to people, you share information and you sort of put out feelers instead of like going around. You're an idiot. You do that. You know, if you get defensive, they get defensive. Kind of weird. But if you just sort of drop a truth bomb, and then if they choose not to take it up, it's like, oh, fair enough, and you sort not back away, but you just think. But that's part of the waking up process is the freedoms are being withdrawn slowly. Now, I didn't think I mentioned it in the first hour, but here in yes, I did with the projects. They're in hard lockdown. No one can leave. They're all stuck in a building. It's like if you're familiar with Judge Dredd, the comic book, they have massive mega blocks, and they can shut the whole block down, and no one can get in or out. That's the level we're at because these are hotspots where cases. Have you noticed the language has gone from deaths to cases, or maybe it's just here in Australia? But a lot of people, it's like, well, hang on.
Well, they're going to make some people die.
Yeah, well, that's. But is it? I saw someone. Was it from coronavirus, or did they have coronavirus with? If they have heart palpitations. Even John Z put in a meme in the call chat. Go ahead, smoke, since no one's died from cancer since COVID-19. And this is just showing, there's way too many inconsistencies and contradictions that are out there. Like Maxwell, her sister apparently is married to Dr. Fauci. The plot thickens even further.
Yeah, it does.
Whoa, say that again?
Dr. Fauci is married to the sister of Gwendolyn Maxwell, or whatever her name is, the one who got who worked with Jeffrey Epstein.
Are you kidding me right now with this garbage?
No, that's the information I've seen. Go ahead.
It goes tandem with the fact that Newsom is Pelosi's nephew. Trudeau is Castro's nephew. They're all tied in.
Well, like the whole thing with
wow.
Yeah, that's the fun part of Revolution Radio. It's like, wait, what? And it's just another piece of like, well, people. Oh, there isn't a small group of people trying to control the planet.
Okay,
well, here's a diagram of everyone that owns everything, and it gets down to 700 companies and stuff like that. Go ahead, sir.
So I saw a picture. It had to be the 70s. Bill Gates standing in the middle of Barack Obama, at the time Barry Santero, and his friend Michael Robinson, known as Michelle. Have you guys seen this photo?
I haven't seen it.
I would love to see it. Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Well, have you seen the Bohemian Grove? the Bohemian Grove photo of Nixon and Reagan sitting at a table.
Which, by the way, is 10 miles from where I live.
Ooh. Ever headed out there, or just you get an energy, or it's not part of your...
You drive by it, you feel it. It's heavily armed guard. The armed guards are just ridiculous.
If the pass was open, I could get there in an hour and a half, but they closed the pass. So
you're about from Bridgeport. You're about 2.5 hours.
Interesting enough, here in Australia, Victoria has Victoria hasn't shut its borders. All the states around it have, and so we can't leave the state now. And I saw it just before I went on air. There was an article that apparently a passenger plane from Melbourne landed in Sydney and no one was checked for the virus. And so, as the system has just been exposed of how it doesn't work, and bureaucracy and layers and everything else like that. It's just...
So
Yeah.
I would love to get into this, just the premise of the galactic agenda with Mechanic here. You've heard it before, Monty, but if you really stop and figure out why are we here? Why are we here going through this gauntlet, this cocktail PTSD? Why are we enduring this this atrocious occurrence on our DNA? Our DNA has been programmed in the lower three strands to keep us in this programming, right? So if you look at the galactics, they basically, we're all, if you want to see a galactic, you got just go look in the mirror, right? You are a galactic, represented by some soul grouping. So what has happened is that we're all being audited. Not only us on this planet, but every race in our galaxy and in the multiverse is being audited because they hit a plateau where they weren't able to move forward because they eliminated the emotional subtle bodies like Spock and the Romulans. They basically hit a point where they realized they couldn't move forward. So they created this planet and this petri dish and this grand experiment of duality, which we had to incur the encumbrances of the sociopathic, psychopathic tendency in order to know and find our way into the antigen of compassion and love, right? So we had to go through it. I went through lifetimes of, pillaging and raping and murdering and backstabbing and, doing twisted deals and, but it gave me an understanding because the duality is here to create an understanding. It's not to get caught up in the dystopia. So by coming to this point that we are right now, we are at the very clarion call of life where life as we know it is transmuting into a brand new paradigm of existence. So by being able to, again, the only thing you have to do is wake up and understand that this is not who I am. This is not serving me. This is not, reflecting my true sense of being. And you find your self-mastery of your self-reflection, your skill set, skillcraft, and skill art of your Akashic remembrance of how you can add to the benevolence of humanity. The Cheyenne have an expression, if it's not good for all, it's not good. So we are literally creating a DNA strand in this new understanding of our sensuality and sexuality that lends creativity to a pinnacle of self-expression unknown in galactic history. We are literally the front runners of a brand new galactic race. And you, my friend, are a participant, and just by being who you are is lending credence to this crusade.
And I would add to that is if Mechanic, if that didn't resonate with you, the language, find the language that does resonate with you. You'll find that the premise of what Viking just said, you can find it told in a different way. It still means the same thing. And
yeah, I think that the path we're walking, it definitely, well, at the very minimum, the end game is the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on a financial way, we'll stop being debt slaves. Basically, by removing the corrupt financial system, and humanity can move forward.
That's the first thing that's got to go immediately. Done immediately. Well, we claim sovereignty back 100%. It's at that point that we can start making our own choices.
Right. Well, disclosure and prosperity is critical for the advancement of mankind into humanity.
Yeah, can you imagine if we all worked together?
Oh, that's the one thing they don't want. So let's not imagine that. That would be hell coming to breakfast. Well, for them, let me tell you.
Yes.
Nightmare situation.
But we have to see the deviousness in order to, you have to understand, in order for us to gain an understanding, a knowledge of our own self-awareness, we have to see the deviousness and come to a point of our own conviction to let go and disentangle, great strength and courage, We have to find our precept. We get cathartic. We're in a fetal position, but we're waking up into a brand new understanding of self-realization that this is no longer working for me. This is not who I am. Great strength and courage.
Yeah, and if you don't have to become a monk and move to the Himalayas, or become a shaman. You may eventually do that.
Your ground. You're on the right side of history. Just you got to carry that with you. That's what you're walking around with.
Well, if I can give you an example, mechanic, without knowing anything of your background, because I'm a lazy stalker, I wait till you come to me and then tell me stuff. If you chose as a perfect life would be to find a partner, have children, run a business that helps people, and enjoy life to the fullest, that still falls into the paradigm that we're talking about. Other people there may want to try and remember how to fly in the magnetic field. That's still part of it. It's all unique. It's I've heard someone say it's an inside job. Like if you save yourself, you save the world. So because you are a unique individual being in all of reality, you are going to find your own path.
The minute you wake up and disentangle from this absolute, dystopia, this horrendous trap, you cut the marionette strings, you are now a beacon of light that people around you will start to gravitate. If they have the inclination, they will gravitate towards you. You'll become their beacon of light, and you are also grounding that conscious awareness into the grid of humanity, right? It's all ones and zeros. It's energetics. It's frequency, and the more that you can find and tap into your skill set, skill craft, and skill art, and just find your joy in life. Find your joy in life. That is the best that you can do.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Listen, I try to find levity in all situations. This kind of life that we're approaching, the lifestyle that I see being enforced upon us, the mask that they want to make the new normal that I simply refuse to be a part of, is going to come with major consequences for me at some point if the masses don't start to change.
It's going to change. People are changing every day. As I said, the deep state.
The doctors are coming out. I just found a video a couple of days ago, a doctor offering $5,000 if somebody that can prove that COVID exists.
Right, exactly. This is their defensive posturing to pull the wool over our eyes.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the eyes to see and the ears to listen,
yep.
Then when this density splits, you're gonna get left behind.
All these people that are judging me right now, all these people that are giving me the big fat eyeballs when I'm walking around in public places, I ain't gonna get no apology from them. I assure you. When all this stuff blows up in their face, and they turn around and start looking at me without that mask on, and they go, "Wow, you never wore it."
But you're contrasting them, and to force them to come to realization.
There's also people want you to be on a side, and that's sort of there's vision in America. It's like, there's a lot of people that are picking a side, and say the SJW movement, where most people with common sense go, "You people are idiots." Where you want inclusivity, but you're actually dividing everybody. And so be on your own side. I have a pinned tweet on my Twitter account, which is someone's condensed the Bible into about 2 sentences. Love everybody, respect everything. I've also added do no harm, but don't take any crap. And I think even Gandhi is for gun rights, because if someone's attacking his family, he wants to defend them. He doesn't want to. Everyone should be armed and open beer bottles with a pistol. Not that level, but there's we're coming into balance. That's sort of what you're finding out. What know thyself. That's not working for me anymore. You let it go. You may notice that friends and family are drifting away because they're on different frequencies, but you're becoming more the real you. And
even the Galactics, they'll wear sidearm and sword. I mean, they are, because what's happening with their, as the timelines are collapsing, certain time anomalies are occurring that they can be put into a split density where all of a sudden they're faced with their adversary. They wear a sidearm and a sword for defense posturing only, though.
Yeah, and is that because, as Andrew Barter says, we're in a free will universe, in a free will galaxy, in a free will solar system, on a free will world, and because it is free will, and some people like to do naughty things, there is nothing wrong with defending. I like what Yoda says in The Empire Strikes Back: a Jedi never attacks; he uses his knowledge for defense, and that's why. Well, yeah, go ahead.
In the early series of Kung Fu, an adversary must conquer, but we must only defend. This is where it really is defensive. Even in the martial arts, they teach you how to, defend. They don't teach you how to attack. These are all defensive posturing here to be able to turn the energy around and not let So it's like even when you're being spellcasted can come in a negative, derogatory thought structure as a spellcasting. All you have to do is recognize it coming at you and just take a step back and go, I am not going to get involved, because they're going to pull you into their dystopia quicker than you can pull them out. Yeah. You have to recognize that even a thought structure and verbal words of spellcasting.
Yes.
Don't go there. Just don't go there. They're having a bad day, or this is not, as Helena was pointing out, if people are not willing to meet her on her terms, she doesn't go there. And that's exactly where we need to start posturing ourselves.
Yeah, a different view from the Doctor Who series is the Doctor's talking to the Master, who's insane, whatever. So the difference between us is you want to rule the universe. I just want to see it. And you don't have to control everything. One aspect that I went through is trying to control your life. And things would never work out. If you actually stop trying to control it 100% and just go with the flow, being a Pisces, it's very easy for, I'll just float along. But it's amazing when, instead of planning everything and trying to manipulate everything and trying to control 100% of everything that happens in your life, nothing goes right. But if you actually trust the universe and allow it to happen, you'll notice it gets so much better. And little things like, these lights usually are red. Oh, it's green. I'll just drive through. Oh, look at that car spot. It's just little things like that, and then you can build on them.
Well, that's the difference between thinking, because the mind's caught up in a strategic, it's like a repetitive syndrome of survival and its needs and wants of addiction, and trying to manifest its core source of just some sort of security. You're thinking, but as an entrepreneur, and I have, as I said, multiple businesses here, crash and burn many times because I was thinking. You have to think outside. When you start to think outside the box, you're actually seeing that there is a whole different paradigm of manifestation. You manifest with your vision of life, not what you're thinking to be true.
Yeah, it's dare I say, it's the mechanics of the universe mechanic. And it can work on any level, and no one's better. It's just we're all on different journeys. We're all on our unique journey, because creation is a kaleidoscope. And so, basic way, mechanic, you're living your life now, and say either in 2 lifetimes or in 30 years, you could be doing what Viking's doing on that level. There's no wrongness at all, because
I'm just a different method of delivery. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. You're a unique being, and I say that it's a non-judgmental statement, but sometimes it's a good way to explain morons as well. You're a unique being, but you're not a moron. I'm just clarifying that. I'm not having a go at you, sir.
With the compression of time,
I'll be coming to see you real soon.
Go ahead, Viking.
With the compression of time, the way it's occurring here, what it might have taken Monty and I, dozens of years, can't happen in dozens of weeks. I mean, this really is is happening quickly here. It's unfolding. And if you can just let go of this entanglement, you'll be able to then understand and start to see the reflection of your true, what gives you bliss and joy, and being able to engage in a proper, just a sense of being.
Yeah, for me, one of my things that helped me is just thought of another one. It's not you don't go fear the unknown, love the mystery. Even just that, for me, when that turning point of start loving the mystery, it's basic physics. Whatever you put out comes back at you through the reflection of the universe. And that's sort of why we, Viking and I and a couple of others, start defending our points of view. If someone comes in, it's like death, famine, AIDS, we're all going to die. It's like, not necessarily. And because we create our own lives and our own little dream bubble. And if you keep putting that out, the universe is going to go, all right, that's what you want. And it'll send it back to you. I remember one point, I think I was on DMT or something, but I just thought apple, 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 apple. And about 3 months later, my third eye got bombarded by about 8 apples. It was very funny at the time. It was like all of a sudden, bang, 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 bang. I'm like, oh, okay. There's a lesson for me to learn. But yeah, it's like I can see, like, especially if you watch the mainstream media, you can see everything's falling apart and going to shit. But on the bigger picture, it kind of does. Like people saying, oh, we're not going back to the old normal. Good, because that normal was utter shit. The new normal. No, I'm not taking that one either. Let's do something better. We've got opportunity to create a better world. And that's Andrew Bartzis, the galactic historian, has coined coronavirus, the gift that keeps on giving, because it's accelerated evolution where, like, for me, the basic elements is the government suck because they weren't ready for this type of thing. The medical profession is like, you've seen all those doctors saying, well, hang on, this is wrong. And then you've got Big Pharma going, shut up. And, corruption's been exposed. And, the media, that's just turning into a joke. Like, as you mentioned, Viking, Terry Crews and Don Lemon, I've seen a little bit of that. And who would want to argue with Terry Crews? He's huge. He seems like a lovely man as well. But Don Lemon, I'm not sure. Something's off there. But you know what I'm trying to say is things are
there's a narrative. There's a narrative.
Yes,
there's a narrative here, and Don Lemon is not going to sway from it. He gets paid a lot of money to tote that line for the fourth branch of the United States government.
And he believes
media.
And he believes it because he would be on an ego level, and he gets all this money, and it's like, I'm important because I get the money. And and
he's a fraud like the rest of them.
Yeah, it's just total ridiculousness. Like going back to, is Trump a racist? And you get yelled at. Notice when you ask these type of questions, the answers are usually yelled at you instead of actually a conversation. But he called all Mexicans rapists. No, he was talking about MSG 13 or whatever they're freaking called, a crime cartel. And there's a history of murder, rape, and stealing. You talk to anyone who's on a border state, Arizona, and all along there, they'll tell you that the MSG, whatever, is it MS-13 or MSG is just my comedic brain going in. But there is all that corruption, and it's like he's a racist because he called everyone Mexicans criminals. It's like, well, no, he was calling criminals criminal. And if he's a racist, what country do criminals come from? Then there's more yelling. So yeah, it's that's one. I think it was Stephen Crowder mentioned it. It's very hard to have a conversation, which is what sort of America really needs, is to have a conversation, just to find out different perspectives. Stephen Crowder does a thing called Change My Mind, and he had a strapping young lad. He's like over 6 feet tall, looks about 21, but he was only 17, a black chap. And he said, how should I'm not into politics, I don't know much, where should I look to have a find out what's happening politically. And Crowder said, you watch both. So if you watch CNN, watch NBC. You have 4 of left or conservative or, on both sides. And because especially media today, they have an agenda on, Fox or in CNN. You look at both of them, try and find what the not negative story, the non-balanced story is, and then probably do your own research to find out the actual truth about things. Like Jesse Smollett, apparently in Chicago at 2:30 a.m. when it was 30 below degrees or whatever, zero, he was attacked and it was a hate crime, and it was a complete fake. And then you've got the guy from NASCAR, where they found out it wasn't a noose, it was just a loop to pull down the garage. And apparently they're still pushing it, even though the FBI's got
no coverage of those facts. And furthermore, no coverage of the current trial against Mr. Smollett.
Yeah.
That is ongoing. They're going to get him. I tell you, they're going to get him, and the mainstream media ain't going to say nothing.
No, because it's outside of their media, the narrative, and that's what we're seeing as well. Is the global narrative is falling apart because people aren't investing in it. The only reason that humanity believes in money is because they believe in money. That's the level. It's not backed by anything. It's just like, social construct. And it's like, well, a dollar bill is a dollar bill. It's technically a debt note for central bank, which is charging interest. However, everyone just uses it and trades with it because they still believe. That's the best way of explaining the economy at the moment, isn't it, Viking? Just people have faith that the economy's there, even though it's completely fake.
Well, people just don't. They just take what they're fed, and they're in this encumbrance and this surreal, obligatory reality that they have been programmed to from birth to schooling. It's like they don't think outside the box. They just believe what's true, and it's a confidence. The fiat currency is a confidence scheme. Literally is a scheme, but it in itself is collapsing because the fact that we're $4 quadrillion in debt in toxic derivatives with all the banks is absolutely posturing for survival. It's not. It has to. Everything has to collapse. Everything has to. Crash and burn, hit the tarmac. Geopolitical, geoeconomic. Your spiritual aspects, your physical being, the life on this planet has to go through a cathartic, literally crash and burn to have the phoenix rising. It has to go. The phoenix is going to rise into a new paradigm of existence here. Everything is going to come to an end here. Yes, there'll be civil unrest. Yes, there's going to be false flags. Yes, there's going to be, the deep state, being backed into a corner. The badger is going to be its most ferocious. But again, it's posturing. It's defensive posturing.
If he wins,
have to play out. They will play out.
Everything goes silent, right?
What?
If he wins, everything goes silent.
Absolutely.
If he loses, this country goes nuts.
Right, but he's not going to lose. That's not, the agenda here. There's the agenda behind the agenda behind the agenda. It's going to be hard for you to understand here, but there's actually galactics on this council that are posturing him and counseling him in his stratagem. They're 5 steps ahead. They've been infiltrated every aspect in organization with their own moles to understand what's going on here. All the information is there. They got rid of the Southern District Attorney, which was literally locking out, the Hillary files and on her laptop and Epstein, and now that he's gone, all that information is going to be free flowing. It's a five. It's like what I mentioned before. Trump is just doing a rope-a-dope. He's taking the hits, but his cabinet is literally in a aggressive mode here to expose what is going on. We just have to back away.
He's got to get
and
rid
not
of
get
Pompeo.
involved. Get back away and not get involved. Just be who you are, be informed, and not get entangled in their, in their agenda.
Yeah, we're coming up to the end of the show, and for those playing at home, with Viking, it's all got to crash and burn. I think we're mainly just talking about ideas and structures, not like we have to every build
paradigms of thought structure.
Yeah, not every building has to be torn down or anything else like that. So it's not really the physical side of things. No. It's the structures and paradigms and everything else like that.
So
where
what's been projected on the screen is no longer serving us.
Yeah, not Pablo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the what's his name's Cave anyway. So final thoughts. There's only two of you left. Haha, yeah, you bit of ropey dope yourselves. Mechanic, do you have a show or you just a round table?
Right these days, I'm just doing a couple RTs. I might have a third one coming up here on Tuesday nights. So far it's Sunday and Thursday nights, 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 a.m. Eastern Time. And, I like rocking these roundtables. It's fun. It's entertaining. I go back and forth, a lot of differing opinions. And I'm always learning new stuff. It's a win-win for everybody, I think. But listen, I'm not for everyone. And so, hey, take it or
but
leave,
it's good you're here. Viking, very quickly, your show, which is on Fridays, I believe.
Yes, Fridays, the Galactic Interstellar Council down the Rabbit Hole Galactic Perspective. It's Fridays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Studio A. And this week we'll be going over the infinity breaths. It's a meditation that will help to align the chakras and the DNA.
That was Planet Collingwood. We'll see you next week. Enjoy, everyone. Take care. Goodbye.